on to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time segment for Chelsea 1, Everton 1. Everton ground out a really hard-fought draw at Stamford Bridge, two very depleted teams, but a good result nonetheless on the road. I'm joined by Mike Richards from the Unholy Trinity Podcast. Welcome to the show, Mike. How do you feel off the back of that? Slightly better position to be in than come off the back of the pasting I think we were all expecting in that game.
It's certainly a bonus point, if you like. It's a point that was certainly not expected after the Palace game, and even if you go in there in Chelsea, they were slightly depleted, missing say 4 or 5 of their first team. We went there with 10 or 12 players or unavailable through illness and injury and things like that. So to come away with a point has got to be seen as a massive bonus, and something, as I say, which I certainly didn't expect us to get. And I was certainly thinking, how many is it going to be for Chelsea, and is it going to be a damage limitation kind of game?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, it was relatively backs to the wall. I mean, we defended very well, and in particular, we'll go through a few of the personnel who stood out. I think Jordan Pickford was man of the match, and rightly so. He made 9 saves, I think, in this game, and some good ones as well. In fairness, it was a very solid performance.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot more of that from Jordan Pickford, haven't we? I think in the last sort of 12, 18 months or so, when he's switched on, and when we get some consistency from him, it's obviously to our benefit. And to be fair to him, I think he's really sort of calmed down. He certainly seems to be a lot more switched on than he was maybe in the previous 12 months. And he had a good performance. The saves that he made, I think, the one from Mason Mount in the first half when he went clean through was probably just instinctive, and what was he, 3 or 4 yards away from him? Decent save. One from the header as well from Thiago Silva stood out. I think probably they were saves that you would maybe expect a decent keeper to make, but we've seen in the past that sometimes he hasn't done. So it was great to see him have a consistent game. He looked fairly commanding, and he seemed to be enjoying himself as well, which is always good. When Pickford's enjoying himself, I think he has a decent game. But obviously, if it wasn't for him, and we had maybe a lesser goalkeeper on the day, we certainly could have found ourselves maybe 2 or 3 down before our time. So it was great to see him perform so well, that's for sure.
Definitely, and in front of him there was some good performances. Michael Keane was pretty strong, and had the best of seasons, but I thought he was solid enough. Godfrey was decent. I think Gareth Branthwaite really stepped into the role very well, and obviously got the goal, but defensively he was solid as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a couple of times, especially the first 15, 20, you were sort of thinking, we're getting cut open here, and they were looking down our left-hand side and targeting, Ben Godfrey, and obviously Branthwaite was over there as well. And you thought, they're going to get through at some point, and really, Reece James should have stuck that one away early doors, shouldn't he? And he should have found himself one up. But I think as the game went on, we certainly looked a lot more solid. The 3 centre halves I thought worked pretty well in that kind of game. I think Branthwaite having a bit of protection with 2 other centre halves probably helped him as well. To have a couple of bodies either side of him. Obviously Godfrey as well wasn't too far from him, so I think he had good protection. And as much as it was Chelsea, and you think it's a difficult game to come into for anyone, it was good that he had some more senior players around him to sort of coach him through. But left-footed centre halves, the few and far between, and if he can keep up and if he can develop and carry on the same kind of path that he's on, it's great for ourselves going forward, because ideally you'd love a left and right footer playing at the back next to each other as we go forward.
Definitely, I think it's also worth noting that it wasn't just at the back where there was a lot of changes. There was a right back, I think John Joe Kenny came in, and there was loads of different personnel. Ellis Sims, a lot of young lads as well. What was your take on Ellis Sims' performance up top?
Very difficult for him, isn't it? I think that I saw some people giving him a bit of stick, and you just think, but we've gone there against Chelsea. The kid's not going to get any kind of service. I think it's a great introduction for him to play against like Thiago Silva, who over the last maybe 10 years has been one of the world's best centre halves. He would have learned a lot, even though he didn't have much impact on the game. He's learned a lot there from who he's playing against. He's a young kid, he was on loan at Blackpool last season. People have been crying for him to get a go. Ideally, it would have been better giving him sort of 15, 20 minutes here and there prior to the Chelsea game. But listen, he was asked to do a job and he did his job absolutely fine. A good sort of, what was it, 55, 60 minutes that he got. Can't complain. As I say, he's learned a hell of a lot, and there's certainly no need to get on the kids back. Let's let them develop. Probably, if we can get a few players back, then we'll probably see him go on loan in January, which he probably needs again. But he's certainly a talent. He signed a new deal not too long ago, so the club certainly think highly of him, and he's got all the attributes to be a decent centre forward for us. But just give him the time to develop. Don't sort of criticise. It's far too early, especially after a game against Chelsea where we had 20% possession, and in the attacking third we weren't doing a great deal.
No, like you say, I think Ellis Sims, he's feeding off scraps there. We're not exactly known for creating chance after chance at the moment. It's not easy for any striker, never mind a youngster.
No, I mean, we've seen it, haven't we, with other players who've played up top and, we could look back at Richarlison against Palace and he didn't really get any service against them, and obviously he was taken off through injury. So, it's not just been a case of it's Ellis Sims and he's got no service as a young kid. We haven't really been great at providing service. You could even argue in a sense that, at a time Rondon wasn't getting great service, but I think the thing with Rondon is he wasn't in those positions to actually make a difference. So yeah, we haven't been great. We've been getting goals from players other than our centre forward, especially since Dom picked up his injury back in August. So it's no slight on Ellis Sims at all. As I say, he'll be delighted to get that amount of time on the pitch away at Chelsea, difficult game, and he's come through it okay. And the chances are we'll see him over the next few weeks before a potential loan move as well.
Yeah, I think we're still going to make use of him. I think in the next couple of weeks, I think it'd be nice to see him like a goal or something before he did go away on a loan. And same goal to obviously Stoboban, who came on for him. I thought he played really well.
Oh, yeah, Dobbin's got that pace, hasn't he? He's a bit of a live wire. Obviously got a good half an hour again. Great to see him being given the chance. Looked to try and win a penalty as well later on, which was quite clearly a dive there. But the kid's got talent. Hopefully he can sign a new deal as well, because we know he's now getting into the last sort of 6-7 months of his deal. And he can start signing pre-contract agreements with other clubs. So the club have got to pull the finger out there and try and get him to sign. Giving him minutes will certainly help that particular cause. But he came on to good effect. I thought he gave the Chelsea defence something else to think about. Totally different to Ellis Sims. Two different kind of players, different size. Say he's quick, a lot quicker than Sims is, and again. They learn so much. They're getting blooded at the highest level against top quality defenders, and on the biggest stage against the champions of Europe at the end of the day. So it'll be great for him. So again, another impressive performance, I think, from Lewis Dobbin.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a lot to take away from the performance, even though even if it was only a draw, it's like there's so much to take away from this, like positives. I think even John Joe Kenny, I think, like I say, he has his critics, but I don't think he didn't really put a foot wrong, I don't think, in this game.
No, Kenny's obviously got a lot of stick, I think, with John Joe Kenny. You think back to when he first came into the side a few years ago, when people were calling for him to be given a chance. I think back to him captaining the 23s, and he was doing well with them, and people wanted him in the side, and he came in and did a half-decent job, and even going on loan to Schalke, I think he got decent reviews over in Germany. But
yes,
the wheels of me, I think they sort of come off with John Joe Kenny in a sense. He didn't perform particularly well on loan at Celtic last year, But you've got to take your hat off to him. You know, he's come in again against Chelsea, difficult side, and he's put a shift in, which, you know, that's the least that you expect. But it's probably what we've not seen from many players in recent weeks, and you know, for a vast portion of this season as well. So Kenny's come in. You know, he's given a mind to something to think about, especially with Seamus Coleman being the age that he is. I mean, there's a lot of talk about a new right back coming potentially in January. So maybe that'll be John Joe Kenny gone. But all you can ask when any player comes in and they're given an opportunity is to try and take it. And I think, to be fair to him, he's limited, but as I say, he performed pretty well tonight.
Yeah. With this in mind, do you think like a lot of these younger lads have put our senior players to shame?
Potentially, I think with younger players, they always say they play with no fear, don't they? And you know, the players who've been at the club for maybe a number of years, I think they probably take on board a lot more of what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe, you know, they're training with the minds of the coaches on a daily basis. Some of these youngsters are being brought in on an ad hoc basis and don't maybe see what's gone on, and any kind of maybe bad blood or issues within the playing squad and the coaching staff they don't see. So maybe they haven't got those kind of things weighing them down, so to speak, and not feeling the pressure because it's essentially not really their team. If you see what I mean, they're playing 23s and in some cases, you know, under 18s, etc. And so it's a chance to impress, and they can go in there with the attitude of, you know, if I can do a job, I'm in a place in this. Yeah, I mean, you get that some of them have come in, and you know, you look at the performance and their energy, then they've certainly put certain players to shame. That's for sure.
I think that's kind of what I was getting at. Was sort of the application. I think there's definitely been a lot more. There was a lot more application, I think, from some of the younger lads.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to assess, isn't it? Because I think some players have cut really frustrated figures at times. Whether that be obviously the situation with Luca Dean, which we're going to come on to shortly. The Charlison at times, he's frustrated. You've seen them all at some point, look very, very frustrated, and it can impact the game. It can impact the performance, and as you say, how they actually apply themselves in the game. And as much as maybe they don't want it to come out, it does come out, and it's difficult. But I think when you've got that benefit of youth, I think sometimes that can just bring you through. Maybe that almost that naivety at times, and the fact that you've not been molded by frustrations and defeats and things like that. That can really help. And the attitude of the younger players, I think, has been good. He's a manager, isn't he? But he says who doesn't really want to, or doesn't really trust the younger players. So they know when they do get a chance, they have got to go on there, and they have got to really impress and apply themselves correctly to be given any kind of opportunity. Because he talks about trust a hell of a lot, and he doesn't trust younger players from whether it's an experience point of view or what have you. But no, the application's been good. Like you said, maybe some of the senior players can look at that and maybe learn a thing or two.
I'd like to think so. I mean, still though, in terms of the actual result, what can we do to build on this now?
It's hard, isn't it? Because, the way things are going currently, we've had our last game called off. It's probably helped us in a way. And the fact that we played Thursday, we used to play Sunday, so that's probably helped us. We know there's COVID issues within the camp at the moment, whether that affects Boxing Day's game potentially. So I think you'd be quite keen to play again to build on that kind of results, because it was, as much as maybe to us, it was unexpected. The players, I'm sure, certainly don't go out there to want to lose a game, so they'll be happy with the results. It's a big point, and I'm sure they want to get back to Goodison Park as soon as they can and put on a bit of a show. But it's certainly a platform that we can use, and they can always fall back on and say, well, we've gone there with a threadbare squad, 2 goalkeepers on the bench, only 7 subs named, and we've come away with a point against all odds. So if that can't motivate you to actually push on and take some positives from it, then nothing will. So they've got to really pull on. And I think looking ahead to obviously the likes of Burnley, Newcastle, Brighton, these kind of games which are coming up now, which are more winnable games, you can argue, and hopefully put in more positive performances.
Yeah, we'll have to obviously wait and see, but for now, obviously, we can enjoy the fact that at least we're going into the Christmas period on a slightly more positive note than we were anticipating. We can, sort of maybe go into these games, like you say, over the festive period with a bit more confidence.
I think, even looking at the table, we're still in a predicament in a way. There's a lot of teams with either 1 or 2 games in hand. Burnley being one of those teams, and we're not in an ideal spot really, but we're in a much better spot than we were. I know it's only a point, but we're in a better position because of that point and because of who the point was against. So it certainly gave us a boost as fans. It should give the players a boost. And going into potentially busy time, the back end of December into January, the players, like I said, they should be able to feed off that and look back on that and be able to hopefully get on a run of games and get some points from them and then look up as opposed to be looking down and over our shoulders.
Definitely. So there you have it, guys. We'll leave it at that on the Chelsea game anyway. Chelsea won, Everton won. Let us know your opinions. Drop us a comment below. Give us a like and subscribe for more content. And until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in on the Toffee Blues.